on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and for the first time, I believe, in 2023, this is WWE last week. Hope you guys had a good new year. I know I've put stuff up on the channel since the new year, but as doing this show, as the WWE last week host, for lack of a better term, I don't call myself a host, that's really weird. Happy New Year. Hope you guys are having a good time. Yes, there's a lot of turmoil in the WWE and who's running it. And oh my god, the guy that basically recreated wrestling got his company back. Oh, isn't it so sad? And blah, 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 blah. We won't be covering that here because I really don't care until something actually happens. I'm just saying. I'm just putting that out there. What I will say, I'm going to start off this with a little bit of introspection, like, you know, take a look at yourself type thing. People thought, I got comments, especially from people on Twitter, weirdly enough, that they thought I was really childish because I stopped covering AEW after they fucked over CM Punk. I don't think I am. I think I'm having a lot more fun with WWE, and I've got other stuff to look forward to, and AEW is just a thing that kind of exists over there and keeps doing weird stuff. So you want an example, though. Some people, you know, it's my channel, I'll freaking cover whatever the hell I want. But if you want an example, like, take a look at last week's Dynamite that was so great. So what have we done? We've got two completely separate stories. You've got Mox and Hangman, and you've got MJF and Daniel Bryan, both of whom are making their stories entirely about concussions and head trauma and brain injury. On the same week that Adam Cole announces his comeback from said terrible things and whatever else he was dealing with. I won't claim to know everything that was going on with Adam Cole. That's his own business. But that's pretty fucked up. And then you got the big tease. Oh, they didn't really tease it. They didn't really say it. But they did. Not that I care about the appearance of Sasha Banks, but there is a weird, demented group of people out there that would have liked Sasha Banks to show up, and you teased that and you didn't deliver, and then you hold your hands up and say, well, I didn't technically say anything. That's kind of fucked up. You got ticket sales off of that really weird tease, especially, you know, capped off by what you had Britt Baker say the week before. And I'm not blaming Britt Baker. Britt Baker's awesome. But you teased and you didn't deliver, and then on top of that, you make Toni Storm, who's awesome, look like a second option, and you make Hikaru Shida, who's also awesome, look like an entirely inept human being. Now, I will say, and I will still say, Sasha Banks is the one that cost Paige like 6, 7, 8 years of her career. So even though the tease didn't actually happen, still using her comeback to spur on the rumors of Sasha Banks coming in, so that Sasha Banks could potentially come in on the back of Paige, on the back of the girl that she put out of wrestling for so long, is also pretty fucked up. And then in the main event, oh my god, the great reconquering heroes, the Elite, they won the trios titles. Of course they did. They're the bosses and the belts were made for them. Like, I really don't know what you want me to say here. Like, when the Wednesday Night War was a thing, right? And I don't, somebody like Triple H doesn't need me to stand up for him, because, like, who the fuck am I, right? Triple H never booked himself to be the NXT champion. And Kenny Omega has now booked himself to be the AEW Tag, and AEW Trios champions. Young Bucks didn't wait that long before they got their hands on the titles as well, and it's just one of those things. Like, they waited until Kenny Omega came back from his injuries. Nobody wants anybody to be injured. I don't want Kenny Omega to be injured. I don't wish any bad on the guy. But they waited for him to come back to make these belts in the first place. So you know the belts were just made so that they could sit in the back and jerk each other off. And then they were stripped because, you know, they were quote-unquote suspended. I mean, they went on vacation for a while so that their so-called suspension could be part of the storyline of their comeback. Let's be real. And that fact was only underlined by the fact that they are now recognized as two-time Trios champions. And who do I feel bad for? I feel bad for Death Triangle in this entire thing, because has there ever been any more bookmark booking than those guys holding on to the tag titles? And look at the best of 7 series. We're gonna have 3 normal matches, and you're gonna win, and it's gonna be put across as how terrible it is that you guys are winning by cheating. And then once we're on our comeback, once we start booking the more spectacular matches, the more spectacular gimmicks that are going to get all the attention, that's when we'll get all of our wins back. big middle finger to the Death Triangle for one thing, and yeah, we run shit, so we're gonna give ourselves belts. So we got that. We got let's make concussions into a storyline twice, which is not only gross but also kind of lazy. You teased the fans with the appearance of Sasha Banks and never delivered, and made everybody else in that match look terrible. So if you want a breakdown of why I don't cover AEW anymore, because that's basically their platform. Piss everybody off, raise their hands and say, well, we didn't actually do it. That's what AEW is right now, which is super unfortunate because there are some awesome wrestlers in there. Also, I caught, what was it called? Impact Hard to Kill over the weekend. Instead of watching Rampage, actually. It was really good. I mean, the main event was super over-the-top, melodramatic bullshit between two wrestlers that I don't care about. But the rest of it was really good. The Bully Ray versus Josh Alexander match was great. Josh Alexander's wife getting involved and giving Bully Ray the cutter was pretty awesome. The rest of it was really good, the tag team stuff. They managed to get more than 2 women's matches on the card. Tony Khan, are you paying attention? The big news coming out of that, though, is that Frankie Kazarian has left AEW for Impact. So the AEW originals, one of them's already back in WWE, one of them just left to go back to Impact. So, yes, crumbling. Anyways, no, in all seriousness, if you didn't watch it, if you're like me and you haven't watched Impact in a while, go back, watch Hard to Kill. And they made the additional announcement that Impact is coming back to Toronto, and they're bringing their pay-per-view Rebellion to Toronto. I think it's in either March or April. I'll be going. It'll be a lot of fun, and I guarantee you those tickets will be cheaper than what Tony Khan thought I was going to pay for tickets to Dynamite. Yeah. I have to say this, and I will always go back to this. Tony Khan and AEW were charging more for their weekly show at the same venue where WWE does their house shows than I paid to go see WrestleMania to watch The Rock face Hulk Hogan. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to figure out. Anyways, let's get into our show this week. Oh, also, I've brought back Flix Fix. I gave you guys a quick review of the movie Megan. Go back and check that out. And I did a trailer reaction for the movie Sick, which is apparently coming to Peacock, so I will reach out to all of you guys. If you guys know anywhere where I can watch Peacock content in Canada, because we don't get Peacock in Canada, I would really appreciate it. Throw it down in the box below, or hit me up on Twitter. I'll give you a shout out, or something along those lines. Anyways, let's talk about Raw. Raw started off with Kevin Owens, who got a huge pap, let's be real. Talks about his Rumble match with Roman Reigns for the championship. Now, with the rumors of the tag team titles being split, I think they're taking their time before they specify what the Kevin Owens-Roman Reigns match is actually for. Is it for both belts? Is it for one? Is it for the other? I really hope they clear that up soon, because I've seen graphics that say both. I've seen graphics that say the WWE title, and I've seen graphics that say the undisputed WWE Universal, whatever he calls it, championship. So they need to, in fairness, let's be critical of WWE. They need to clear that up. They need to let us know what's going on with that. Excuse me. He's interrupted by JBL, of all people, who says nobody believes that you can beat Roman, but the last person to beat Roman Reigns cleanly in a one-on-one match was my client, Baron Corbin, which is a really sad, true thing. Corbin will win the Rumble, and Corbin's going to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. They go on a big, long spiel about how great Corbin is. Kevin Owens is the greatest, though. Kevin Owens is standing in the middle of the ring, in the corner, with his face in the turnbuckle, like, practically asleep, which is great. KO versus Corbin is made on the spot. Commentary used this time to hype up the Roman Reigns, the Roman and Sammy matches for Kevin Owens, because he had his Sammy match coming up on SmackDown and the Roman match is coming up at the Royal Rumble. So it just basically gave them an opportunity to talk about KO and the real matches he has coming down the pike, rather than this match with Baron Corbin, who even we will acknowledge nobody really cares about. Kevin Owens wins the match, obviously. Jimmy J and Solo Sikoa jump Kevin Owens from behind. They give him a little bit of a beatdown. One of them eats a chair to the face at one point, and I don't think that was intentional. Kevin Owens chases them off with a chair. When we come back from the commercial break, we get 2 big announcements. Adam Pearce has set up a tag team turmoil match for the main event tonight. The winners are going to face the Usos, and Solo Sikoa is going to face Dolph Ziggler in a one-on-one match. Now, on the one side of the coin, this is where we start getting into the splitting of the tag titles, which I don't know is 100% a thing, but it is something to look forward to. Now, you got a wrecking machine like Solo Sikoa, and you've booked him up against Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler's there to do one thing and one thing only, make him look awesome, which he does. We'll talk about that in a minute. We replay the beatdown between Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair. Bliss shows up randomly on commentary on the table and says, you know, I'm the only one here. This isn't about Bray. This isn't about Uncle Howdy or anybody else. I'm the only one here. And then Uncle Howdy shows up on the Titantron with a big flashy, glitchy thing that he does. And he says, do you feel in charge? And then he comes out to the entranceway on Raw. Uncle Howdy making his Raw debut, laughing as they go to commercial break. So, figuratively speaking, and I'll say this very carefully, as he's fucking with more than one person now, Uncle Howdy's got his finger in a lot of pies. Don't do it. I know what you're thinking. Don't do it. Don't be weird. Bayley comes out with Damage Control to take on Mia Yim. They cannot decide whether they're going to call her Michin or Mia Yim, or Michin's going to be her nickname, or whatever. She cuts a promo on Becky, talking a lot about how, hey, Mia Yim, you came out to help Becky last week, and she's not here to help you this week. Becky doesn't help her friends, blah, 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 blah. Gives the champs the night off, and obviously sends the other two members of Damage Control to the back. They have a nice one-on-one match. Bayley, I don't think Mia Yim needs as much help as people say she does, but Bayley does do a really good job making Mia Yim look like $1 million, and she wins with her feet on the ropes. So she sent all the help away. She took her on one-on-one. She did get the win, but you kind of put over Mia Yim by saying, hey, here's Bayley, who's fucking awesome, and still had to put her feet up on the ropes to beat Mia Yim. Nice little compact match, not too much drama, did exactly what it was supposed to do, and we move on. Commentary tells us that Johnny Gargano is out of action with a grade 2 AC sprain, and I don't know what the fuck that is exactly. I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on YouTube. We go to Candice LeRae in the back, who gives us an update on Gargano. Nikki Cross is always in the background of all these Candice LeRae backstage segments and never actually does anything. I'm pretty sure they're either going to have a match at the Rumble or they're going to interact in the Rumble. I would love a program between Candice LeRae and Nikki Cross. Now, Nikki Cross is going back to the version that she was in Sanity. We all know the rumors of Eric Young coming back to WWE. I don't know if those are confirmed or not. They killed him, literally. Like, they wrote his death into the story of Impact Wrestling, so he's not there anymore. I don't know whether him coming back to WWE is a confirmed thing or whether it is just a rumor, but Nikki Cross and Eric Young working together, again, would be fucking awesome. The Sanity version of Nikki Cross is the best version of Nikki Cross, don't at me. And her having a feud with Candice LeRae might make people take Candice LeRae a little bit more seriously, because yes, it's cool that they acknowledge that she's Johnny Gargano's wife and they don't treat the fans like idiots, because the fans know that. But being associated with Johnny Gargano and Dexter Lumis and all that also sends her down the goofy route a little bit, and that doesn't really help. So, be that as it may, she announces herself for the Royal Rumble. She's cut off by Rhea Ripley, who mocks her, etc., and thinks, yeah, like, I could toss you into the 5th row if you decided you're going to enter the Royal Rumble. And they set up a match for later on tonight. We then get the announcement of the teams that are going to be in the Tag Team Turmoil match. Now, I will say, when they announce a Turmoil match or a Gauntlet match or anything like that, and they announce all the participants, I always think that there's going to be, like, we're going to get to the end, and then there's going to be one more surprise opponent, like they did on SmackDown a little while ago when they did the SmackDown Gauntlet, and Shayna Baszler came out as a surprise opponent for, who was it? I think it was Raquel Rodriguez. Anyways, but it's going to be American Alpha, Judgment Day, the OC, the Street Profits, and Alexander and Benjamin. Keep that team in mind. Austin Theory comes out, talks about defeating Seth Rollins last week, says the champ is here, fueling all kinds of rumors that it's going to be him and John Cena at WrestleMania. I don't think it is. I think the rumor of John Cena versus Logan Paul is a lot more feasible. I'm not saying I necessarily want to see it. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Cena versus Austin Theory. I think that would be the absolutely most obnoxious match they could possibly book on both sides, not just on Austin Theory's side. But I think as far as like one-off, one night only spectacle, if they think they can get John Cena versus Logan Paul, I think that's what they'll give us. He brags about messing up Rollins' knee, talks about how Rollins' knee is a target because he's getting older and all that kind of thing. Rollins comes out on crutches, but then we realize it's a fake out, and lets Theory ramble on. Theory declares himself for the Royal Rumble, says he's going to beat Roman. Rollins promises that he's going to be 100% for the Rumble, and he will see you there, kid. The kid thing is, okay, not to make it into a joke because Rollins literally came out on crutches, but the kid thing is being used as a crutch in all these promos back and forth these days, because it worked for a while. But it doesn't work now that Austin got his title back and got his win on Seth Rollins. The kid thing has less and less, what do you want to call it, less and less weight as we go. Now, this all sort of caps off with a little addendum at the end where Bobby Lashley returns, walks down to the ring, walks right by Seth Rollins and spears Theory and tosses him out of the ring, obviously metaphorically making his intentions known for the Royal Rumble, but also then literally announcing that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble. Now, who are the babyfaces and who are the heels here? Because Lashley is rumored for a heel turn. Rollins isn't quite face yet, but Lashley didn't lay a hand on him, so maybe there's a slight acknowledgement there. Obviously, also, if Rollins is legitimately injured, there's not much they could do. And Theory is just getting attacked. Like, he won a triple threat match. And yeah, that kind of sucks, because, you know, you beat the person that's not the champion to get the championship back, and the champion feels robbed and all that. But he won a triple threat match. So technically nothing has been done wrong to him. He's been shit on by everybody. He beat the last guy that shit on him in Seth Rollins, and now he's being attacked by Bobby Lashley. So yes, Theory is the heel on the basis that he's an asshole. But also, what's he actually done? In a certain sense. Now, I don't know, we're going to talk more about this later on, but if Rollins is actually injured, I don't understand why he would come out on the crutches and then throw away his crutches to say, oh, it was just a fake out, and then grab the crutches again to say, I'm not good, but I'll be good by the Rumble. Like, it's a mixed message a little bit. I'm nitpicking because here's two guys that I really like watching interact in Austin Theory and Seth Rollins. Bobby Lashley's sort of the odd one out, sticks out like a sore thumb, etc. But, I mean, Lashley's going to be in the Rumble. He'll chuck around a couple people because there are certain portions of the population that will demand he gets to chuck around a couple of people, and we don't need to go there. Ripley versus Candice LeRae. It is what you would think. Friggin' she gets ragdolled for the most part by Rhea Ripley, who is a fucking star and should win the Rumble and should beat Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. It should happen, and all of you that want to tell me that I'm a terrible person for pointing out the obvious can go fuck yourself. Oh yes. There's a Tilt-A-Whirl backbreaker, a Tilt-A-Whirl DDT off of the ropes at one point, attempted by Candice LeRae, and it's completely blocked by Ripley. She just, she goes for the DDT, and Ripley just sort of holds her there. There's a hard Irish whip exploder in the corner, as well as a huge pop for a superplex by Candice, which is interesting. Standing figure four on the outside by Ripley. Ripley hits the Riptide on the inside of the ring for the win. Ripley, right now, is sort of the opposite of Candice LeRae, because I just said Candice LeRae shouldn't always be pictured with Johnny, or else she's going to be lumped in with goofiness. Rhea Ripley is part of the most fun group or at least on Raw, if not WWE, and it's a little bit goofy, and she shines above the rest of that group, so she's showing that it can be done. So maybe I should take back my previous statement, but Rhea Ripley's a fucking star. You guys will know, and I've said this for a while, and I'm going to keep saying it until it comes to reality. Her and Toni Storm. Toni Storm doing good things for herself on AEW, kind of, but I said the two of them, from the first Mae Young Classic to the second Mae Young Classic to NXT UK to NXT to the main roster, Rhea Ripley's a fucking star. Toni Storm was along with her. Toni Storm has chosen to go to the dark side. It's fine. Rhea Ripley's a fucking star. It will be, if they know what they're doing at all, it will be Rhea Ripley dethroning Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. But it should, I'm going to say this for what it's worth, because she was rumored to be facing Ronda Rousey, and I think the opportunity for Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey is sort of past its point now. They had their chance and they didn't do it. That match should be Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley. Should it not? I'm just saying. Anyways, we go to the back. Bobby Lashley's in the back, and he's being spoken to by MVP. And he's like, hey, can't you show me a little appreciation since I'm the one that got your suspension lifted? Interesting point number one. Lashley says, hey, man, it's not about that. You know, I don't forget what you did to me in the past, what you and Omos did to me and whatever. And he says, well, hey, man, we're trying to clean slates. We're trying to mend fences and all that sort of thing. Look at Benjamin and Alexander and what I've done for them. Watch how successful they are later tonight. Spoiler alert, they're not. And Lashley's like, hey man, I get it. Thanks for what you did for me, but it's not the thing right now. They fist bump and they go their separate ways. But the hinting is obvious. Hurt Business is coming back in some way, shape, or form. Either they're going to reform as the Hurt Business, or MVP is going to keep trying, and Benjamin and Alexander are going to turn on Lashley or something. I don't know. It's fine. We recount the recent Money in the Bank in the UK announcement. Again, I think that's fucking awesome. I think the fact that, okay, WrestleMania is obviously happening in the States, but Elimination Chamber is happening in Quebec, and Money in the Bank happening in the UK. They're doing more and more outside the US. Not that I really care. Unless it's in my city. Like, here's the thing. You guys might think I'm callous for saying this, right? Unless it's happening in my city, I ultimately don't care where it's happening. I think it's cool that they're going over to the UK. I think it's cool that they're coming up to Canada, except they landed in the wrong province. It's fine. But at the end of the day, they're going to give you the show they're going to give you. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. The people in the UK are always a good crowd. Go back and watch Clash at the Castle. Listen to that crowd. It'll be a good time. We get another Cody video package. Isn't Cody awesome? Isn't Cody awesome? He's coming back. He fought with a broken tit. Awesome. Then we get a segment in the back with Mustafa Ali trying to start an argument with Dolph Ziggler because Mustafa Ali had gone to Adam Pearce and said, hey, can me and Dolph Ziggler be in the Tag Team Turmoil? And he got told by Adam Pearce that Ziggler was already set for a match with Solo Sikoa tonight. It's weird because Mustafa Ali and Dolph Ziggler are not a tag team, so it's a bit strange. Of course, Dolph Ziggler is going to want to have his chance to get his hands on Solo Sikoa because he beat the crap out of him the other week when the last time the Bloodline invaded Raw. So, yeah, like, you know, it's not all about you, like, I'm going to go handle my business type thing. Now, I'm going to say eventually, it didn't happen tonight, Mustafa Ali is going to snap and have, you know, an angry moment against somebody. He's going to lash out. This is going to be his, like, 27th heel turn. But, like, do you want to tag with me? No, I'd rather have this cool singles match with Solo Sikoa is not a reason to turn on your tag team partner that you thought was your tag team partner, but is not even your tag team partner in the first place. I don't know. I don't get it whatsoever. We get a video package on Bronson Reed, and then Bronson Reed tells The Miz that we are absolutely not friends. If you want me to do something, you better pay me. I'm not Dexter Lumis. Fucking wonderful. For anybody that thought that he was going to be attached to The Miz long term, no, he basically sailed in under The Miz's radar to get himself onto Raw, which is fantastic. I want to see Bronson Reed versus Kevin Owens at some point, just because I think that'll be really, really good. Solo Sikoa versus Dolph Ziggler, and I don't want to say I don't have very many notes for this, but I really don't. Like, Ziggler does exactly what Ziggler does. He makes Solo Sikoa look like $1 million. He's really scrappy-doo in this match, which I think is really cool. Like, Dolph Ziggler as, yeah, he's still a cocky asshole, but he's a babyface, and he knows he's fighting from underneath. It does work, because nobody ever really expects Dolph Ziggler to win. So when you see him put in, like a scrappy effort and whatever, and then switch gears and do what we now know as the Ziggler sell job is awesome. It's absolutely awesome. It's sort of the opposite of when The Undertaker's streak was still a thing. Nobody expects anybody to beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania, but we do expect them to put on a really good show and take advantage of the opportunity, etc. Rah. Ziggler, in this case, nobody expects him to win, but he's going to give a good show to whoever he's facing. And Solo Sikoa, who's somebody who doesn't really need somebody to make him look good in the first place, looks extra awesome when there is somebody in there whose sole goal is to make him look good. He catches him in midair with the Samoan Spike, which would wreck you, actually. It would, like getting stabbed in the neck would fuck you up pretty bad. I will take that as a finisher. Miz TV with Dominic Mysterio. And I've written down everything that they said and whatnot. But it doesn't matter. If you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. Dominic Mysterio coming out with the fake teardrop tattoo and the flannel and the bandana and basically looking like Discount Conan and talking about, you know, snitches getting stitches and you got to hang out with your crew and whatever is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Miz tries to call him out and say, like, you know, you were only in jail for an hour or whatever. You know, what the fuck are you talking about? And he gets immediately spoken down to by Damian Priest, who does a quick left turn, looking into the camera and saying that, you know, after tonight we're going to be coming for the Usos as well. Because this was the start of the Tag Team Turmoil match. And Tag Team Turmoil match did not go the way I thought it was going to go, actually. The first team to come out is the OC, and it's basically a retread of everything that they were doing before AJ Styles got injured, which is absolutely fine. Finn Balor and Damian Priest taking on Gallows and Anderson is really, really good. Trip up by Dominic Mysterio. They get the roll-up win. Judgment Day win. Judgment Day roll on. Next up is Alexander and Benjamin, and Judgment Day beat them too, because when are they ever on TV other than to get beaten? American Alpha come out, or sorry, Alpha Academy, sorry, come out next. They have a pretty damn good match. I mean, Otis is a steamroller. Gable is as fantastic as we all know he is. Otis goes up to do a big top rope splash. Friggin', what's his name? Balor pulls Gable over top of him so that when Otis splashes him, he splashes Gable as well. But I get what that means in theory, right? Like, here's one of those things in wrestling that we just accept even though it doesn't make any sense. He pulled Gable on top of him to protect himself, but doesn't that mean when Otis lands, that's two people landing on you instead of one? So, the Damian Priest got the quick roll-up on Gable, who got sandwiched in the middle, but as we transition into the next part of the match, you see Finn Balor roll to the outside. He can't move. He can't, like, nobody can even touch his ribs. They try to get him some ice and whatever. He can't continue. He's not able to contribute to the match anymore. So Adam Pearce is like, okay, well, the last team out is the Street Profits, so they're gonna win by forfeit because you can't continue, which would be problematic on a lot of levels. And they finally say, okay, if Dominic's willing to take your place in this last portion of the match, then I'll let the match continue. And so then it becomes Damian Priest versus Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio taking on the Street Profits. And Street Profits are awesome, as we know. They are going way overboard on commentary, trying to tell you that Angelo Dawkins is as good as Montez Ford. Montez Ford is way better at wrestling than he is at choosing wives. So we'll say that right now. But Montez Ford is great, and the more they try to push Dawkins, the more it underlines, like, why are they pushing this guy? Oh, because his partner's much better. Through basically some banana peel weirdness, Dominic Mysterio gets a pin with his feet on the ropes, with Rhea Ripley holding his feet onto the ropes for the leverage. It's an absolutely stupid win, but it is also absolutely Judgment Day obnoxious. I keep saying it. It's like the goth kids from South Park, if the goth kids from South Park were also bullies. And they get the win. Street Profits are left in the ring looking very sad. Very, very sad. Very, very, very sad. And they're all, the Judgment Day are leaving. Finn Balor is, like, completely overselling his fucked up ribs, which is somehow hilarious in this particular scenario. And then the very last scene we see on Raw is the Usos coming back out to stare down the Judgment Day. And do I think that any combination of the Judgment Day are going to take the tag team titles away? Not necessarily, but I do think the two best acts in WWE coming together had to happen at some point. And you had to do it through some kind of tournament shenanigans, because they're both heel factions. And naturally, the WWE isn't going to book heel versus heel, but I mean, the Judgment Day are bad guys that everybody's starting to like, and the Bloodline are bad guys that people do like. So I think face and heel kind of goes out the window a little bit, but you had to bring the Judgment Day and the Bloodline together at some point. Like, add a couple more people to the Judgment Day, and that could have been your, what do you call it? That could have been your War Games match, but no, instead they had to do Brawling Brutes and Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre, which is fine. That match was great, but it wasn't a faction versus a faction. It was a faction versus a bunch of guys. Judgment Day getting the win, especially getting the win the way they did. Judgment Day had a great night. because Rhea Ripley destroyed Candice LeRae, which is a lot of fun. I like Candice LeRae, but Rhea Ripley's a fucking star, and she should be winning, and she should be main eventing shit. Rhea Ripley actually deserves a WrestleMania main event for that championship to destroy Bianca Belair. Yes, she does. But in general, like, Judgment Day, they won a tag team gauntlet match. They switched out their players mid-gauntlet. So all three of them contributed to the winning of that match, plus Rhea Ripley. So all of them won tonight. It was a good night to be the Judgment Day. And that's the end of Raw. And we'll be back in a second with SmackDown and some other news and notes. Is it just me, or did this week's SmackDown absolutely fly by? I have a single page of notes. Now, they're all newsworthy things and they're all pushing things forward, but it feels like SmackDown absolutely flew by. Now, in all seriousness, I rushed through my notes for SmackDown because I was also watching Impact Hard to Kill. I've said it before. I said it in the opening spiel there. If you got a couple minutes and you want something different to watch, you want to check out what these guys are doing, please go check it out. It's really good. That's all I got to say. It's just really, really good. Specifically the opening match with Josh Alexander versus Bully Ray, Full Metal Mayhem for the Impact World Championship. I'm a little bit biased. You guys know when I first started going to Destiny shows, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. Josh Alexander was also the... well, he wasn't the Destiny champion, but he did beat the Destiny champion, who happened to be Pete Dunne, who's now Butch. So... there's that, and I will say once again, yeah, there's a whole lot of unnecessary melodrama in the main event. The Mickey James, oh my god, it's my last rodeo, except it's not. Could have done without that. The number one contenders match, however, was really good. The win going to Masha Slamovich, who's awesome. Also included Deonna Purrazzo, Killer Kelly, and... oh, come on, memory. Tasha Steelz, I think? All of whom are really great. I met Killer Kelly at a Destiny show. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list twice. She's a fucking sweetheart. Anyway, SmackDown started with what I thought was going to be the main event, which was Gunther versus Braun Strowman for the Intercontinental Championship. Imperium comes out. It's very much what Bayley did on Raw. Imperium comes out with Gunther, but Gunther sends them to the back. Gunther tries to make the match all about Strowman's arm issue. His arm was basically mangled from a brawl the previous week, and that's absolutely fine. He tries to make the arm the issue. He gets absolutely mauled by Braun Strowman, who's a lot bigger. One of the bad things about this is, yeah, Gunther's one of the biggest guys on your roster, but so don't, if you want to keep telling that story, don't put him up against a guy who's, like, legitimately monster over him. Arm work and midsection work by Gunther for a long time. Overhead key lock. Once he got Strowman down to his knees and he was able to get him into the overhead key lock, that was pretty impressive looking. Huge back body drop by Strowman. Imperium return. They fuck around a little bit on the outside. They get into a chop battle, which I'm sorry. I know that's Gunther's thing, but Strowman would, like, knock you into next week. Huge spine buster and an assisted power bomb off the middle turnbuckle gets the win for Gunther. Strowman, you know, when somebody as big as Strowman goes to the top rope, you know it's to set up something. Gunther using that to turn it into a power bomb, legitimately impressive. I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on Gunther, but, like, what we got on the main roster is smaller Gunther, which is weird because he's still trying to be the giant, and he is the giant over most guys, but then you put him in there with a guy like Strowman and he just looks small. Find him some better opponents. That's all I really got to say. We replayed Kevin Owens challenging Roman Reigns last week, and Roman Reigns accepting because he was in the heat of the moment, and then we see Sammy wanting to talk to the tribal chief, and he gets cut off by Paul Heyman, and he's like, Roman's not here. Okay, let me talk to the Usos then. Well, the Usos and Solo aren't here either. It's just you. It's very important that you get this done on your own tonight and prove yourself to the tribal chief. Blah, 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 blah. Out comes Rey Mysterio, who talks about Christmas and his issues with Dom, and, you know, I thought I was leaving everything behind when I came to SmackDown. I thought I was leaving my problems with my son behind when I came to SmackDown, and I need to get myself back on the right track. And how do you get yourself on the right track, especially when it's Check's Watch January? You enter yourself in the Royal Rumble. He gets cut off by Karrion Kross, who calls him old, who calls him broken, who mocks him, who sort of compliments him mockingly. It's like, yeah, remember that time you won the Royal Rumble 17 years ago? He stirs up some of the Dominic issues, and eventually they get into, like, I won't even say they fought. They had a little bit of a brief exchange that it turned into Ray trying to go for the 619 and quickly getting locked into the cross jacket as we go to commercial break. It's going to happen in a couple weeks on SmackDown instead of during the Royal Rumble, which makes me think that the Judgment Day are going to show up on SmackDown in 2 weeks and fuck with Ray, and that'll be like a last-minute addition to the Royal Rumble when we get our Ray versus Dominic match. Because here's the deal. I think Royal Rumble could be the, like, this is Judgment Day's night. Because if they hold off the tag team title shot until the Royal Rumble and Balor and Priest face the Usos, you throw Ripley in the Women's Rumble and she wins, and Dominic beats his dad. How loudly are they going to crow on Monday when they come back out on Raw? I think that would be fucking awesome. I don't think that all of that is going to happen, but I surely hope the majority of it is going to happen. And if I only have to pick one, I'm going with Ripley. It is what it is. We go to the ladies' locker room where they're all talking about the Rumble, and Liv Morgan talking about how she thinks, you know, she has the best chance. She's like, I don't care if I come in at number 1. And super gigantic babyface Raquel Rodriguez comes in and tells her she has no chance because Raquel's bigger than her. It's not a babyface thing, is it? Liv slaps the fuck out of her and challenges her to a match later on tonight. But we don't get that. Instead, first, we get the first of 2 women's matches. Tony, what's your excuse? Moving on. And yes, I'm going to keep making the Tony Khan excuse, because when they say their women's division is growing and the WWE Saudi shows have more women's matches on them than Dynamite does, you're full of shit, Tony Khan. Oh, yes. Xia Li starts off the match by throwing Tegan Nox head and neck first off the top turnbuckle. It's a great showcase for Tegan Nox. Xia Li should get her own story at some point, but right now she's very much in another Ziggler role. She's very good at making other people look good. Tegan Nox, commentary takes the entire match basically to talk up Tegan Nox, what she did in NXT, what she's done before NXT, the Mae Young Classic, rah, 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 rah. She wins with the Shining Wizard, which is fucking awesome. We have the replay of SmackDown from last week, what happened after the Usos successfully retained against Drew and Sheamus. They were attacked by the Viking Raiders. I don't know why that wasn't on the show if they were going to turn around and reference it again this week. And Drew and McIntyre, doesn't make any sense. Drew and Sheamus are in the back arguing over who they should go after first. Should they go after the Usos again, or should they go after the Viking Raiders for revenge? And they're hitting each other, and it's all very comical because Adam Pearce is in the middle, and basically he makes the announcement that on SmackDown there's going to be a tag team tournament that are going to establish the next number 1 contenders. And you start thinking, you look into those rumors about splitting the belts, and you think, well, you just established number 1 contenders on Raw, did you not? In the Judgment Day, my boys. It's going to be all right. Thug Dominic Mysterio is going to be a tag team champion. Don't worry about it. But it just lends to the whole idea that they're splitting the belts. They're starting a tournament next week on SmackDown. The first round match is going to be the Viking Raiders versus Drew and Sheamus, which is absolutely fine. We get a video package later on in the night with the Viking Raiders calling out Drew and Sheamus, which doesn't make very much sense because the match has already been made, but I like Valhalla, and I like how much Valhalla, simply having a job, seems to bother other people. Yes, you're upset that somebody has a job, and you consider yourself a good person. Oh, yes. But yeah, I don't know, because you're going to get... It's probably going to be the trio that we've already seen. It's going to be Legado, Hit Row, Viking Raiders, and throw in Drew and Sheamus. Because who else are they going to throw in there? You got the Maximum Male Models who haven't been seen in weeks. I think you've still got Angel and Umberto kicking around somewhere. You could bring up 1 or 2 teams from NXT if you want. Bring up Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly versus the Viking Raiders would be fucking hilarious. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. I'm wondering if the New Day are going to be in this tournament, because they're kind of focused on NXT, and also they're wrestling a pretty light schedule because Xavier Woods is apparently injured. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it's going to be a pretty quick tournament. It's going to be like a 4-team tournament, isn't it? I will say, if they're going to do the same thing on Raw and SmackDown, at least they changed it enough that one was a gauntlet and one was a tournament. The Gauntlet told a pretty good story with the Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio getting in there at the last minute as Discount Conan to get the win for his team. I don't know. I was really hoping that they were going to keep the titles unified and go back to Blackstrap Tag Team Championships. But it does not seem to be the case, which makes me wonder what they're doing with Roman and his belts, but we can talk about that at another time. Sami and Kevin Owens are in the back, sort of having that, like, friends that just broke up argument, like, whose fault is this really? It's your fault, it's my fault. Well, if you hadn't have done this, and if I hadn't have done this, we wouldn't be where we are today, and, you know, the Bloodline taught me all about family, and Kevin Owens basically like, you're an idiot, and they're using you, and I'm going to punch that into your head if I need to, is basically the idea. Liv Morgan versus Raquel Rodriguez is another weird one. Another result I don't really buy. Raquel Rodriguez has had a hell of a spotlight put on her already. She's been made to look like a pretty resilient force against the champion, even though she hasn't won necessarily. And Liv kind of got buried in her story with Ronda Rousey, actually. So the entire match they spend proving that Liv Morgan is the smarter, faster, crazier, one step ahead of Raquel the whole time. And they almost do a table spot, and then they don't. And then Raquel gets the win kind of out of nowhere. I don't know. I hope they have... Raquel Rodriguez is fine. Win or lose, Raquel Rodriguez is fine. I don't think Liv Morgan factors into their WrestleMania plans, per se, but I really do hope they have a story in the background for her after WrestleMania season is over. We replay Charlotte Flair taking the open challenge from Sonya Deville last week, and Sonya Deville storms into Adam Pearce's office demanding another rematch. Okay, she says you can't just have another rematch. You walked out, like Charlotte walked out to Ronda and challenged her then and there and won. You walked out to Charlotte and challenged her right then and there, got your opportunity and lost. You don't just get to come back and try again next week. Sonya says, I'll get my rematch one way or the other. And then when we come back from the commercial break, she's brawling with Charlotte in the back. So that's fine, but at the same time, like, people are going to complain about it. Oh, you just started a little scuffle in the back and she got herself another title shot. I'm sorry, with all due respect intended, how did the late, great Brody Lee get his title shot for the world title against Jon Moxley? Oh, he attacked him a little bit. And he's, okay, cool, let's fight next week, or something like that. So, it's not unforeseen that can be a thing. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Now, here's where we get into a confusing situation, and this is where I think they may be going one step too far in trying to put like some soap opera drama into the Bloodline thing. I hope I'm wrong. Sami and KO have an awesome match because of a fucking course they do. It's like these guys have known each other for 20 years. These guys could probably have a 5-star WrestleMania match in their sleep. But the match is cut off at the end when Sami Zayn's down for a second, and the Usos, who are actually there, and Solo Sikoa, who is actually there, attack Kevin Owens, beat the ever-loving shit out of him, put him through a table. Solo Sikoa puts him through a table with a splash. And, yeah, they destroy Kevin Owens, and that's the end. And it's sort of deflating because you really wanted to see the match between these two guys. And Sami Zayn is showing that look of trepidation of, like, oh my god, what have I gotten myself into? A little late in the day, in this particular storyline, to have that what have I gotten myself into look on your face, but he does do it, and you know they're all throwing their fingers up in the air. He's like, oh yeah, fuck that guy, yeah, and he's like sort of looking unsure of himself as they go off the air. Now that's going to be seen, and it's going to be dissected, and it's going to be tribal chief ain't gonna like it, all those types of things. I don't know. It fell very flat. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to sell the conflict of Sami Zayn, but you can't sell conflict when 10 seconds ago you were trying to take this guy's head off with a haluva kick. That doesn't quite work. Now, am I nitpicking? Yes. Am I holding it to a higher standard than usual? Yes. But the thing about that is the compliment of that is I'm holding it to a high standard because at least with this story, WWE has shown us that we can hold it to a high standard. I wouldn't hold the same standard to, like, The Miz and Dexter Lewis, because that was a stupid story. I wouldn't hold the same thing to, like, oh, Baron Corbin decided that he was going to step up to Kevin Owens on Raw, because that's not leading a lamb to slaughter at all, is it? I wouldn't hold that to the same standard of literally the women's match we just talked about, where Liv Morgan, like, she sort of, again, I'm going to use the term, she basically scrappy-doos her way through the whole match and then loses for no particular reason, and it's still not that surprising. But anything to do with the Judgment Day has been shown in such a light where WWE says, we're not holding the whole show to a high standard. Some of it still sucks, I'll admit that, but this is at least one thing that you can hold to a particularly high standard, and I'm not saying it didn't meet that high standard, I don't know quite what they were trying to do, so it kind of left it a bit meh. And SmackDown being the best show of the week, hell, the best show on Friday night, shouldn't leave you feeling meh. The better show, like I say, SmackDown, the best show of the week, which also is the home of the best storyline in wrestling, period, shouldn't leave you feeling meh. So that's a fail, as far as I'm concerned. Now, a couple other news things to get into. Before we go off, WWE's on quite an injury streak recently. We all know Randy Orton's been gone for a long time. He's a huge question mark with a lot of neck and back stuff. He's had some kind of, I'm going to say some kind of a lot, because I'm not a medical person and I won't even pretend to know what half of this stuff means, but he's on the shelf for a long time with back and neck fusion stuff. We know what happened with AJ Styles at the house show, where he rolled his ankle and said this is the longest he's ever had to be out for an injury. Rollins is an interesting one, because you don't know how much of it is something that's actually true and how much of it is something that they're going to exaggerate a little bit for the purpose of the Austin Theory story, so that's kind of up in the air. Gargano, as we already talked about, is out with a grade 2 AC sprain and should be back for the Rumble, but I think him holding off and just making his comeback in the actual Rumble would be better, because he'll get the huge pop of a guy coming back from injury, but also that pop happening in the Rumble match rather than, oh, it's the go home Monday Night Raw, hey guys, I'm going to be in the Rumble. Just get the pop at the Rumble. It's absolutely fine. And Xavier Woods is the other one. Xavier Woods is being described, I looked it up on a couple different places, and the best description I can get is he's banged up overall, so collection of smaller injuries, aches and pains, that kind of thing is what it sounds like. I could be absolutely wrong. He's taking it easy so that he can get himself in shape for the Rumble, which makes sense because they have to defend the NXT Tag Team Championships at Vengeance Day, which is the weekend after the Rumble, which makes sense why at New Year's Evil there was no tag team title match, but they had the tag team gauntlet thing, which we're going to talk about in a second. Other rumors, which I think are really cool, Kairi, who's the current IWGP Women's Champion, I think, might be making a cameo appearance in the Rumble. It's absolutely cool. I miss Kairi Sane. I mean, she's just Kairi now, but like, me being the WWE fan and knowing her as Kairi Sane, I'm going to say I miss Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane was not nearly used enough in the WWE, so that's kind of cool. And plus, if we traded Sasha Banks for Kairi Sane, that's absolutely a win in my books. There's rumors that Jay White is coming to the U.S., in tight air quotes, after his New Japan contract expires. If he pops up in the Rumble, that'll be fucking great. Seth Rollins versus Discount Seth Rollins, absolutely fine. Apparently, Chelsea Green has been signed to the WWE for quite a while now, and they're not putting her on TV until they have a proper plan for her. That's pretty fucking good, actually, rather than just throwing her out there to say, look who we've got. Hold her off when you've got a good story. But on the back of that, there's still no word on whether Zack Ryder / Matt Cardona is going to follow in her footsteps, because that doesn't necessarily have to be a thing. Like, Mia Yim is in WWE. Keith Lee, for all the AEW's faults, is in AEW. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be a thing, but a Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona cameo in the Rumble would be a lot of fun. The other one is Andrade. Andrade El Idolo, or Andrade Cien Almas, as he was in the WWE, making a lot of people talk. He's got a goodbye post up on Instagram and Twitter with his black mask in a bag, with the cryptic message that he's going to tell his whole story on a podcast sometime in the next little while, and the fact that not on Twitter but on Instagram he has changed his handle back to Andrade Almas instead of Andrade El Idolo. Now these are little tiny nitpicky things. Fucking, I would love to see Andrade back in the WWE, and I would love to see Andrade sort of reunited with Zelina Vega, because the two of them together were a great act. And Zelina Vega did say on commentary a week or so ago that this is going to be a great year for Legado, and we are planning on expanding. So Andrade coming in to either join Legado or to reunite with Zelina Vega as a singles act and just have her managing that group and him separately. That could also be a thing. But Andrade joining Santos Escobar and Cruz del Toro and Raul Mendoza, that's a pretty talented group of people there that you couldn't exactly ignore. And once you get up to 4 people, and 5 including Zelina Vega, you can put one title on each person. Like, you could have Andrade going for a world title, you could have Santos going for a mid-card title, you could have the other guys going for the tag titles, and you could have Zelina going for a women's championship. You could do, you know, a good old Undisputed Era Golden Prophecy gimmick with... Because what would it be? It would be like Prophecy del Oro for Legado del Fantasma. That would be really cool. I think that would be... The more I say it, the more I'm actually really, really into that idea. Anyways, last thing I'm going to talk about, because it was an absolutely ridiculous show. Some takeaway points from NXT New Year's Evil. And I said in my preview, New Year's Evil isn't a show on its own. It's a show that's meant to set up for their big show in February, the Vengeance Day, which is them going to Charlotte, going to a proper arena, and having a proper, not a proper takeover, because it's still not a takeover, but a proper, like, stadium, or not stadium, what's the word I'm looking for? Proper arena show. Basically, it's meant to set up for that. Gallus is back, which is awesome. I like Gallus. Apparently not very many other people do, but that's fine. I'm me and they're them. They basically interrupted the gauntlet match that Pretty Deadly was trying to go through to get another shot at the New Day. So now the gauntlet was just stopped and nothing was really said about it, so we don't know, but it looks like we might, in the next couple of weeks, build towards Gallus versus the New Day, which could be a lot of fun. Jinder Mahal is back in, or sorry, back in NXT. It was him and Seth Rollins who were in the finals of the tournament to crown the first ever NXT champion. So he got pretty damn close, did he not? He joined up with Sangha to beat the hell out of the Creeds, and Veer's not there. Veer's still injured apparently, so Jinder's there to replace him for now. Very, very strange. Tyler Bate is returning this week on NXT, which is fucking awesome. Dijak is next in line for Wes Lee after beating Tony D'Angelo. Tony D'Angelo taking a bullet for his boy in that match. Tiffany Stratton is back as well. And I will say, not that they were any good, I will say this right now, the women's gauntlet, or the women's battle royal to challenge the current women's champion Roxanne Perez ended when JC and Gigi came out and said, yeah, we're gonna both win. We're gonna share the #1 contendership, and everybody went, yeah, right, until they eliminated everybody else and fell out of the ring at the same time, and it was announced that it is in fact going to be the 2 remaining members of Toxic Attraction taking on Roxanne Perez. And Breaker versus Waller was dumb. I will say that off the bat. The turnbuckle broke twice. The count out when Grayson Waller fell out of the ring was not great. The fact that they put the world title match in at the first hour mark should have been a sign that there was nonsense to come. But hey, it put the ladies in the main event, so that's not necessarily something we can complain about. So now, what do we have for Vengeance Day so far? Because out of all this mess, we did finalize 3 matches for Vengeance Day. North American Championship is in fact going to be Dijak versus Wes Lee. The Women's Championship match is going to be a triple threat, Roxanne Perez versus Jacy Jayne versus Gigi Dolan. And we are going to get a rematch between Braun Breaker and Grayson Waller in a steel cage. I don't mind that at all. Grayson Waller versus Braun Breaker in a steel cage is something that I would tune in to see, because this match was a good indicator of that. How they got there was dumb. The triple threat, Roxanne defending against both JC and Gigi, is a good match. Is a match I want to see. The way they got there was really dumb. And Wesley taking a look at Tony D'Angelo and Dijak and saying, hey, both of these guys want another shot at my championship. When they have their match next week, I'll take on the winner, is kind of a cool offer to be thrown out by the champion, but it's a case of wrestlers booking their own matches, and we had already seen Tony D'Angelo versus Wes Lee, so it was predictable and also not that great, if that makes any sense at all. It's a really weird mess of a show that's getting me excited for what looks like it's going to be a really good show. For whatever I can say good and bad about NXT, them getting back out on the road and them doing a proper arena show is something I'm looking forward to. There's a lot of stuff in WWE that I'm really looking forward to. If nothing else, please keep pushing Rhea Ripley and put her in the spot that she deserves to be in at WrestleMania. That's all I've got. Find a really good opponent for Charlotte as well, because that could be really good. I think Shayna Baszler versus Charlotte Flair would be a good WrestleMania match, because it sounds like Ronda Rousey's halfway out the door, unless they're going to set those two after the tag team championships. But right now that would mean two heels taking on a heel faction. But I think Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler could dispense of Damage Control pretty quickly if we're putting any kind of realism into it. But yeah, NXT going back on the road in the continued push of Rhea Ripley. Bloodline story got a little bit weird this week, but on the other side of the coin, Judgment Day as a whole had a really, really good week. So I think it all balances out in the end. There's goods and bads, there's ups and downs, to quote the great Simon Miller. And yeah, that was WWE last week. Please go check out the Flix Fix podcasts, the last two podcasts that I did that were not wrestling related, actually movie related. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going solo on a lot of these because I don't really know when I'm going to get with my my co-hosts. So the Flix Fix videos are going to be a lot shorter, and it's going to be just me for a little bit. But let me know what you think. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you guys want to hear, what you see, don't want to see. All that good stuff. Give me feedback in the comment section below or on Twitter at SpazPhoenix. Until then, I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.